Times Quiver here. As promised, this is an unboxing of the special edition of Steven Wilson's Hand.Cannot.Erase album. It ships with a sampler disc that features several K-scope acts, a postcard, and the album package itself, which we will explore now. This is a very expansive and expensive album package due to the many loose documents in the booklet. The idea was to have these artifacts help to tell the story of someone's life. The first of these pieces is a birth certificate, signaling the beginning of the character's life. The artifacts in this booklet fit very well with the music if the listener flips through all 96 pages of the book to read lyrics as the album progresses. The first few tracks on the album, First Regret, 3 Years Older, Hand.Cannot.Erase, and Perfect Life, lyrically and musically show a journey that begins in a playful childhood, which sets up the rest of the album to progress through a strange adolescence and a dark adulthood with a tragic ending. The birth certificate looks fairly authentic, with printing on the front and the back, although the name of the child in question is obscured. Childhood pictures and drawings accompany the early part of the album, which has a very happy and nostalgic tone. This adolescent diary was created by Willow Beggs, who was the daughter of Steven Wilson's bass and Chapman stick player Nick Beggs, who plays on the album. The last 3 pages of the diary contain the lyrics to the song 3 Years Older. One interesting fact about this edition of the album is that you will not find the lyrics neatly printed on one page, but instead scattered across the book and several of the loose artifacts. The diary contains scribbles, doodles, and occasional misspelled words, which might be found in the diary of a teenager. Congratulations and applause to Willow Beggs for making such an excellent product to add to this album. Visually speaking, this album clearly stands apart from Steven Wilson's previous album, The Raven That Refused to Sing. The artwork for Raven was generally dark, while Hand.Cannot.Erase has color all over the place. Steven Wilson is not an artist that enjoys repeating himself, so it is not surprising that this album is very different in numerous ways from its predecessor. Lyrically, Insurgentes and Grace for Drowning focused more on personal emotions and the occasional serial killer-inspired song. Raven focused on individual ghost stories, which allowed each song to create its own stage on which to play out the scene that Steven created. Hand.Cannot.Erase is more focused on the development of one character, telling one longer story throughout the entire album. This means that several tracks on the album flow seamlessly together, so much so that on the digital download that comes with the vinyl edition of the album, some tracks such as Happy Returns and Ascendant Huron are simply combined into one. At this point in the album, the character finds herself in a romantic relationship. She enjoys being the muse for her boyfriend's photography, but ultimately longs to be alone. This postcard represents that point in the story and contains lyrics to the title track, Hand.Cannot.Erase. The title track is very much a pop song in its mood and structure, but the majority of the song is in 9/8, so it still slips in a little bit of prog. The next loose piece in the album is a cassette sheet which presumably represents the mixtapes that the narrator refers to in Perfect Life. It lists many artists that Steven Wilson himself has listened to and been influenced by, such as Scott Walker, XTC, Pink Floyd, Donovan, The Cure, and many others. Later in the story, the character adopts a cat that shows up at her door one day. She begins to save newspaper clippings, such as the wonderfully authentic ones enclosed, with ads for cars on the back and everything. She becomes fascinated by stories of people, particularly women, that have mysteriously disappeared, and saves clippings from those articles. She begins to think that some of them disappeared on purpose, so that they could be alone, like she so often longs to be. The lyrics for the song Routine are printed in one of the newspaper clips printed in the book. The Stolen Family Mother Missing article tells the story of the song routine. In the song, a mother loses her entire family in a shooting and tries to carry on by cooking meals and cleaning the house as if her whole family is still alive. These are the lyrics for the track Home Invasion, which is probably the grooviest song on the album. It revisits a common theme from Stephen's playbook, download culture. He gives that culture a face in this song, and not just the general proverbial face of a depressed, over-medicated teenager that was the main subject of Fear of a Blank Planet. That's my favorite Porcupine Tree album, by the way, so don't think for a second that I'm putting it down. I'm just saying that on this new album, download culture is embodied by a person that we have known since birth, so to speak. The song Transients, whose lyrics we just passed, serves as a transition point into the darker, tragic ending of the album. In general, comparing this album to the ones that came before, I can only say that it is different, not really better or worse, and I think that's an excellent achievement for an artist. In some ways, Hand.Cannot.Erase refers back to Insurgentes and Grace for Drowning. It uses more electronic sounds, but also employs a changing set of musicians. Theo Travis performs on only one song. Marco Miniman and Chad Wackerman both play drums on this album, and some songs are played mostly or entirely by Steven Wilson alone. This book, Key of Skeleton, is referenced in the character's life as a book that she tries to read but has trouble following because she is distracted by her TV. Key of Skeleton is also the title of a track on the demo disc of this album. Longtime collaborators Lasse Hoyle, Hayo Muller, and Carl Glover did an excellent job creating this album package, and Dave Stewart did a great job arranging parts for strings and the boys' choir that adds new depth to this album, along with female vocals by Nanette Tayeb. As we turn the last several pages of the album book, we enter the darkest, most mature songs on the album. The song Ancestral digs back to recent Steven Wilson ancestry by getting the Raven Tour band back together for the only time on this album, including Theo Travis. To me, this track sounds almost like it could have been on The Raven That Refused to Sing, as it is very dynamic, mysterious, jazzy, and it's very dark. A doomy unison part harkens back to the ending of The Holy Drinker and 70s King Crimson, which I absolutely love. Like The Holy Drinker, the rhythm of the riff is kind of strange, but very cool, very prog. Pop music and electronic music also have their fair share of time on this album. This envelope contains a letter from our character to her brother. She seems to be writing to him for the first time in years and barely knows him. The letter's words are also the lyrics to the song Happy Returns. This letter ends with the words that are also the final lyrics on the album, which are, "I'm feeling kind of drowsy now, so I'll finish this tomorrow." It's a beautiful moment on the album, and it is also the last recorded words by our character. What exactly she finishes tomorrow is left to the listener's imagination. It is possible that the title of the last track, Ascendant Hereon, means that our character dies in the same way as Carol Joyce Vincent, the inspiration for this character. In that scenario, she ascends past this mortal life, and presumably it takes quite some time for her dead body to be discovered in her apartment. It is also possible that she ascends her trapped city life and creates a new identity, like some of the women from her newspaper collection may have done. That's all for this unboxing video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to engage in your usual liking, subscribing, and commenting. I'm curious to see what you all think of this new album. Happy returns, and happy listening.